All right. We are live streaming, and so we can welcome our live stream audience on Facebook and Instagram. Glad you could join us. I hope you get the information you need to carry on and do and vote accordingly to how your heart leads. We are the 1776 Sons of Liberty. We meet here at the Elks every Monday night, 7 p.m., except for holidays. And this is a little bit about who we are. Yeah, oh wow, you guys are all over this thing. And this is really truly what we stand for. We are the Sons of Liberty. We are sons of liberty. We are lovers of God and country, family, community, and faith. We are warriors of liberty and seekers of truth. We are servants of this great nation and the supreme law of the land. The Constitution is our guide as we fight to restore freedom for every American woman, child, and man. So thank you. I see a few people still coming in. Welcome, everybody. I'm going to have our speaker come up. Guys, we'll give Mr. Gilcrease as much time as he needs to communicate his issues. And when he's done, we will have live questions. I only ask that raise your hand. I'll bring a mic to you so that your question can be on the live feed. Garrett, personal friend. I've known him for a long time. It's exciting to have him here. In my own opinion, when we have people of integrity who have been in our community, who have lived the life that everybody should be living, it's nice when they want to step out and get into the arena of being a political leader to ensure that our beliefs are carried out in our county. And this is what I see in Garrett today. So I'm going to turn it over to you. Take as long as you like, as quick as you like, and give me a nod when you're done.
I'm obviously not technically savvy. So yeah, thanks for having me here, guys. I was talking to Mark Avila a few weeks ago, and he had mentioned that you guys wanted me to come in and talk about water and SGMA. So I kind of thought, hey, why not kill two birds with one stone and do that? So I'll talk about that first. I know questions at the end, but I'll take them as they come. That's fine. I have no problem just answering them right away. If they pop in your mind, wait till the end. It's no problem for me. So SGMA first. As you know, Mid-Kings River GSA, that's where we sit now. I currently sit on the Grower Advisory Committee. That GSA currently sits with the Board of Supervisors. They took it over from Kings County Water District about a year ago. And so they've really been thrown into this thing. We started about a year ago with no plan at all. We've got about 95% of a plan now that we're getting ready to take to the state board. We're actively communicating with the state board too now, which they weren't talking to us before. So things are going decently well in that regard. What I want to come talk to you guys about with what Mark was indicating is getting support for a plan. I'm not going to sit here and say that I agree with SGMA or I think it's a great thing, but it's something we got to live with. And I think having local control of people that are influential in the community is really good to drive that plan rather than have Sacramento drive it. And so we've been working very hard on that as the grower committee. We've met on average about once every 10 days, once a week here and there for the most part, to try and get this plan hammered out. It's a group of growers, myself, including about 8 others that meet regularly there. And the board has been very influential too about giving us guidance and help as far as the law and things like that. So I think in regards to where we're at now versus where we went before, everything is going pretty good. But we're going to be going out to the community, and this is where 1776 is probably going to help out a lot, is engaging the community on getting support for a 218 election. That's going to be a big one. And it's a tough election because you're basically voting to have people take your money from you. So you're going to be voting on a per acre foot allocation, right, which is basically going to be about 2.5 feet going down to 1.4 feet. You're going to be voting on being charged on every acre foot you pump, and then you're going to have an acreage allocation as well. With that, I can say that our numbers are much more forgiving as compared to other GSAs. To the east of us, they're hundreds of dollars per acre foot. To the west of us, it's still unbeknownst as to where that's going to go. Where we're looking at landing is around $17 to $18 per acre foot pumped and about a $25 an acre fee. We've looked at trimming the budget, being very efficient with our money, and trying to meet the compliance and standards of SGMA while giving people the ultimate flexibility to farm and keep doing what they need to do. I personally feel like agriculture is kind of the bedrock of the community. You know, you look at the hospital is the largest employer in Kings County, right? But who are all the people that come into their hospital, right? They're the people that are supported by agriculture, which is the single largest industry in Kings County. If we don't keep that viable, everything else starts to kind of crumble, including government. So that's why it's real important that we took an active role in this process and try to get it moving forward. Let's see here. So as of now, where we sit with the state board, though, and Kings County Farm Bureau. So as of about a month ago, I am now the president of Kings County Farm Bureau. And so we actually took it to the state board and challenged them on their probation with SGMA. That's the whole reason why we're in this in the first place. And where we're sitting with that, too, is that we got them to talk to us again. They weren't talking to us before. We have a March 13th court date that's going to go on now, too. And so we'll know then as to if farmers are going to have to pay back fees all the way back until March or April of 2024, what kind of fees they'll have to pay going forward, and what SGMA is going to look like from here on forward, too. So on the front of local GSA, I told you what we have going on there. On the aspect of Kings County Farm Bureau, that's where we're at there, and we could just use your guys' support. So you got any questions on water going forward at all, or no? Yep. Sustainable Groundwater Management Act. Basically, up until this point, you as a grower could take as much water as you wanted out of the ground to farm whatever crop you wanted to. The state now, though, is saying, hey, you can't take that much water. You are going to regulate how much you can take out, where you can take it out, and what you can use it for. And basically, they're trying to basically take what you've had, the ability, the flexibility, and take that away from you as a grower and not give you any recourse. We're fighting to keep that recourse here is the big thing. So it's a step that other states have that. They have that ability to regulate groundwater. But here in California, they've taken such a swipe at it, going so quickly, so hard, so fast, it's going to put a lot of people out of business. A lot of people out of business. And that's what's going to be a struggle for everybody in this community. So,
Hey, Garrett, real quick, I know you talked in the beginning, you mentioned on these are some of the things that are going to happen, that are happening, that's going to be on the ballot. We, as uneducated hairdressers, retailers, people that are not farmers, how do we know what direction do you have for us? I'll get you some water in a minute.
thank you.
But how do we know the right way to vote? The voting is confusing. It's going to go out to everybody in the district. Mm-hmm. Can you give us a little insight on what and how we should be voting to help our situation the best?
What we're voting for.
Okay, first off, you're voting for self-regulation as opposed to Sacramento regulation. That's what it is. Here in Kings County, I work in other counties, and you go to Bakersfield, Fresno, Tulare County, it's like you're working in LA. I mean, you've got such a massive bureaucracy that it's really hard to get anything done. In Kings County, it's still government, but you can walk in there, you can talk to somebody, they really want this community to move forward. Again, it's still government, but it's small, it's nimble, and it allows you to work within the confines of what you have with government there. We want to keep it that way. Thank you, sir. If it goes to Sacramento, you're not going to have that ability. You're going to have an 800 number you have to call. You're going to have someone you don't even know talking to you, doesn't care about your situation, doesn't have any influence in your day-to-day life, and it doesn't matter if you're in business or not. We want to keep that here. So how do you vote? Now, again, I'm not a proponent of this law. I don't think it's something that I agree with, and I think the state is going about it in such a bad way that it pains me even to say this. But you can either ignore it and get run over by the ship, or you can get on board and try and steer it where it needs to go and get as much flexibility as possible. So I would suggest voting for the 218. I really would. Okay, the 218, basically when I mentioned those two fees there, right? The first one is going to be the acreage fee, and that is for every acre that you farm, you're going to be paying about $20 to $25 to the GSA. okay, right off the top. The 218 part of that is every acre foot pumped. So if you farm 10 acres and you need an acre foot per acre to farm and you use 10 of those, you're going to write a check for $17 per acre foot to the GSA. Now, what's that money is used for? That $25 is used to run the actual facilities and the people, the agency, and all that kind of stuff, and it goes on your tax roll. Now, the 218 funding, or the pumping funding, that actually goes to repair dry wells. So that's one component of SGMA, is that they are concerned with the groundwater that is going down in terms of depth, right? And they say that agriculture is the leading contributor to that issue. My contention is that it's other things outside of agriculture. Ag plays a part, but they shouldn't bear the extreme brunt of this. But the state says that if someone's well, say this person's well right here goes dry, we as a GSA should have to pay for that, because our pumping is dropping those water levels down. Therefore, we owe them that money to put a new well in there that goes deeper and will not go dry. Again, I don't think it's really great, but that's what we're stuck with. I think if Sacramento had it, what government program have you seen that's efficient? Zero. They take money in, they spend it, they don't care about it. You keep it local, like we have been doing with our Grower Advisory Committee. How can we do this more efficiently? How can we set this up to make a dollar stretch farther? How can we make this money go as far as it possibly can so that we don't have to take any more money from people? That's exactly what that's for. So now why you should vote that way for the 218 and for this acreage fee. Again, it keeps it here, but we also have a sunset in there that other GSAs don't have. And what I mean by sunset is once we reach a level of money, we stop collecting any more money after that. If we don't need it, we're not going to collect it. That's an example of why we want to keep it here. Another one is we keep our money here. We use well drillers from around here. We use people to inspect the wells from around here. We're using county personnel to help operate this program. It doesn't go to Fresno, doesn't go to LA like some others do. We keep the money here. So is it a good program? I don't think it's great, but we're trying to make it as good as possible and keep the dollars in Kings County. So.
And this is a local initiative? This is a county initiative?
This is a state initiative.
But I mean the proposition.
Correct. This is a local Kings County, Mid-Kings River GSA initiative. Correct. Driven by state law. Yep.
I got a follow-up question on
Yep.
the subsidies of the dry wells. Is that ag wells also residential wells, or what does that encompass?
Residential only. They say that ag is causing the problem, therefore there is no money available for you.
So will they give me money back for the well I drilled 4 years ago? Because no.
I don't know yet. I don't know yet, but there is some reach back, they say, with this program. Yet to be determined how that kind of plays out, but the state would like you to go back in perpetuity. Wow. We're fighting to keep that to where we don't go back very far, because that's a program that could be abused pretty heavily.
Yeah, amen.
I'll get you right now, but a follow-up. I think 2 years ago, the county passed an ordinance about moving groundwater a certain distance from the county. It's been a couple years now. What are your thoughts on how that played out, and is that something they should continue or work on or add to or remove stipulations? How's it working out?
I think the premise is great. I don't think there should be any water that leaves this county. We are basically considered what's called a captured county, or there's another term for it. I call it captured, but all the water that flows in here doesn't normally flow out, right? There are other counties where water flows in, it flows out through natural rivers, estuaries, things like that. Here we have the Tulare Lake subbase, Tulare Lake, and it just stays there. It doesn't go anywhere else. There's no rivers leaving this place. So the water that comes in technically should not be moving outside of being pumped out or lifted out or transferred out. Now there's mechanisms to do it, but I don't think that water really should leave. I think if it comes in, it should stay. How it's been going, I think it's been on the books, but it hasn't really been enforced to much of a degree. I don't know how much of a need there has been to enforce it. But could it be refined? I mean, it probably really could. Again, I don't know this on the outside looking in, though. I know local water issues. I know water does leave the county for sure, but I don't sit on the board of supervisors yet, and so I don't really understand how that ordinance is being used and to what level it is being used. But I think them taking the step to do that is probably a good idea to start uncovering that for sure.
And just to be clear, the propositions you're talking about, who's going to vote on those?
Everybody that owns a piece of land within the Mid-Kings River GSA is where it is. So
I'm sorry, you said everybody that owns a piece of land, so if I'm renting an apartment downtown, I will not get a ballot?
Correct.
It will not be on my ballot?
Correct. It is
will be
landowners. So if
landowners, wow.
If you own an
Okay.
APN within the Mid-Kings River GSA, you will get a ballot to vote on that.
Wow, I like that.
Now it is weighted too, so a person that has 1 acre has 1 vote, and a person that has 1,000 acres has 1,000 votes.
Okay.
So it is weighted that way, so the people have the biggest stake here, have the biggest thing to gain and the biggest to lose by how that vote goes. Let's see what else here. Yeah, that's it on voting.
Okay, got a question here.
Yep.
Okay, as far as the way this thing has gone so far, you're trying to make something out of an ugly pig.
Correct.
So are they looking at, I mean, just for instance, Hanford
Yep.
and every other city that's in Kings County, generally, most of them have public wells that pump for all these houses they're building.
Correct.
Is anybody trying to document how much water is coming out of these cities for their city wells?
Yeah, so we're just at the beginning of this dance, I'd say. We're kind of learning our steps. We're understanding our dance partners. The song just came on. What I do know is that the city of Hanford. Is that me?
No.
I do know the city of Hanford has a representative who's actually here that sits on the Mid-Kings River GSA with us. She's been instrumental in keeping the city involved. I think that as we go forward in this process and look for voting, look for engagement, we're going to have to involve the cities to a much heavier degree. What I'd say is that the Mid-Kings River GSA encompasses Hanford. You look into the South Fork Kings GSA, which is just west of us, that encompasses Lemoore. And then as you go further south, there's other cities within other GSAs that make up the Tulare Lake Subbasin. On one hand, you've got to grow as a city or you die, right? You have to. You look at a city that doesn't really grow, whether it be with people, whether it be with businesses or infrastructure, they eventually fall apart. I think there are responsible ways to do it, and I don't know if the city has been following responsible ways or not. I know that there are spheres of influence that may go where there's more water, and there's others that probably shouldn't go where there isn't. I'm not aware of what that is yet, but to your measuring aspect of that, all the wells do have meters on them. We have numbers from the city as to how much water they're taking out, including Hanford and Lemoore. Now, how that plays into one component of SGMA, which is subsidence, we don't really know just yet. But what I do know is those wells are below the Corcoran clay, which that is the level which subsidence really influences or gets influenced by, is where that water's coming from. And below that clay is one of the bigger influences of subsidence. And they never shut off either. They're on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Maybe not all of them, but it's a consistent water supply for the city of Hanford. How we wrap our heads around that, how we mitigate it, I think is going to be something we have to get over in the future. But thus far, they've been receptive. We're talking to them. We're having discussions with them on how this is all going to kind of work out. So we're not there yet, but we're starting that process. Yeah.
One final thing on this.
Yep.
I know it's probably a reach to say this, but I would assume that if you all are farming, how many thousands of acres here in Kings County?
Oh, in Kings County total, there's a lot. I think some 500 and some thousand, I believe, something like that.
Okay, so
And all in Kings.
when you all use water, does it go down? It goes into the ground.
Correct.
It is the largest replenishment of water that we have going, because all the water that should be going into these catch ponds that comes down the canals or in our dry season, when we finally do get river water, we are replenishing absolutely nothing. Our city's water goes to a sewage treatment plant. So all the water that the city is pumping doesn't really get recycled like farm water. Has anybody taken that into consideration?
Yeah, recharge of water has definitely been a big component of this going forward. I personally think that the use of water is best on the surface. If it's surface water, use it for agriculture. That means pumps are off longer. It's great, right? But you're right, water that runs through rivers, that goes through canals, that ends up in basins and is recharged is of a mutual benefit to the area. I think there have been some diversions of water in the past with different water districts that may or may not take water and put it into an area that doesn't really benefit recharge that well, but that's yet to be seen as to what's going to happen with that project and what's enveloped there. But the other thing I'd say is that, with agriculture, we are pumping water and we use it, we put it on the ground and it goes to crops. Some of that's lost to evaporation though. It goes up in the atmosphere and it's gone. The real trouble though is water pumped from really low aquifers. How do you recharge that? That's the big trouble, because that water that's 1,000 feet down, it wasn't just dumped 10 miles away on the surface. That water has started all the way in the Sierras, has made its way down that watershed and into those aquifers there. And some of them are contained. They're millions of years old, and they don't replenish that quickly, if at all. But what I will say is that all aspects are on the table. One of the policies that I had a real big hand in is the recharge policy and making it very open and friendly for everybody. We had an epic water year in 2023, and we were not prepared. And I think we could have been prepared and a lot better way to capture some of that water and actually put it to some good use. One is incentivizing people to take it. I called and said, hey, are we going to get any groundwater credit for this? Oh, no. Well, I'm not going to set up to take that water then. It's going to cost me money, cost me time, maybe hurt my crops a little bit. But if I got a benefit for it, I would have took it. And that would have been less water that ended up in Tulare Lake, possibly. So that's one thing about being set up. You want to have a program in place and people in place that are going to let every drop of water stay here to the point where we might not need boats before it leaves this county. That's what you need. And that's going to be all aspects of how does the city use water? How do they recharge water? Where do we recharge water? What water do we use to recharge? Again, this goes back to that initial point. We are very early in this process, and it's unfortunate that previous people before us kind of fumbled the ball for quite a long time and put us in this position of being right up against a vote and the state board breathing down our neck that we've got to try and educate people and ask for them to sign their name on this. But it's where we're at. You put lipstick on a pig or something like that. It's a crappy situation. But if we don't step up and try and do something about it and actually be involved in the process, we got no ability to complain after that.
Got a question right here.
Yeah, Kimber.
Combination questions and also a statement. I've been at most, I'm here as myself, not as a city council person, okay? I have been at most of those Mid-Kings River GSA meetings and sat with the farmers whenever they've talked and gone through stuff. We're in the farmers are in very good hands with the people that are trying to come up with solutions for this. I feel like we're in very good hands with Garrett Gilcrease and everything else, and I would encourage people to take and consider voting for him whenever he runs for county supervisor, okay? But that being said, we need to take and encourage people to vote for the 218. And the reason we need that is because if we don't, I saw several years ago a lot of people that live out by 7th Avenue. Literally, there was millions of dollars spent trying to fight the government, and it was a waste. We weren't able to take and stop it. They still took people's land and everything else. If we don't get behind this 218 and pass it, we're going to be at the mercy of the state making the decisions for us, and we're just going to have to take and deal with what they decide to do to us.
Correct.
And we are a farming community primarily. I honestly wasn't aware that the hospital was the biggest employer in the county, but that being said, I know a lot of people whose lives are dependent on farming and everything, and we appreciate you, and we need to take and be there to support you.
Yep. Yeah, no, it's you mentioned it. We've got it with this 218 needs to be successful. It really does, and it's going to take some faith on the voting public, I think, for that too. But this is the best we can do with what we've got. We've got growers actually driving the process, and we are writing the policies that are probably going to put some of us out of business. That's the reality of this. This isn't people that have no influence or no hand in it. We are in there every day, and I leave and I just want to go to the bar. I mean, it's very depressing. But the thing is, if you don't take a hand in the process, then you're going to get what you get. And I'd rather try and fail than not try at all. So.
You know, earlier you mentioned the 2023 floods, and, you know, we saw most of the south of Corcoran, all Boswell and the lake bottom was under, I don't know what it was, 15 feet of water or so at points. How much of that got into that groundwater reserves, do you think?
I don't think much. You know, they call it Corcoran clay for a reason. It's a really thick clay layer. It runs in different parts of this area. So from general percolation, probably not a lot. But that water was probably moved. I believe it was used on some crops. It was moved to different pockets around the lake bottom there. And then natural evaporation took a lot of it away. So it was a potential disaster in terms of flooding Corcoran and things like that, but it was mitigated by good planning and interaction with the county, the city, Boswell, as well as people that move water around there. So yeah, they did a good job.
Yes, thank you for your timely information. There's about 12 Democrats and 2 Republicans that are out there for governor.
Yep.
I don't want to put you on the spot, but could you tell us which candidate might be more sensitive to the needs of the farmers and water in this part of California? You might have an idea. If you don't understand, thank you.
You know, I don't know. I've never met Chad. I'm going to hear Chad talk tomorrow. I've heard Steve on the radio quite a bit talking about issues. It would be between those 2 gentlemen, probably, if I had to guess. The others are pretty seasoned people, and you kind of know the game. But yeah, if I had to pick one, I really couldn't right now. But yeah, at least we got those 2, and it sounds like things are going fairly decent for them. So.
I'm going to pass this mic on, but there is a lieutenant governor candidate who is a farmer, Collenberg, out of Northern California, that might be a good help on that.
How's it going?
Good, Xavier.
This is more of a statement, and you can respond to it, but it hasn't been said, and I think it's important just to say it for context, that this is a California government created problem, not a farmer created problem. So this valley was set up with the cooperation of government for farmers to grow a lot of food, and then a few decades ago, that started changing, and then they took surface water away, which led to this problem. But I just want to make sure people know, when you hear farmers pumping, when you take somebody's surface of water away, you leave them no choice but to pump water. And then, of course, there's going to be overdraft. Thank you.
No. I mean, I've said it before, and I'll sanitize a little bit, but we got plenty of water in this state. We just manage it like crap. I mean, fish over people, it's kind of a mantra you've heard before, but I mean, that is a priority in Sacramento. You hear it at the state water board level, you hear it with their staff, and different things like that. And so we as farmers, unfortunately, yes, they take surface water away for these things and different issues and pet projects and whatnot. And I think if we had a mindset of protecting people and, lack of a better term, fish or wildlife, we could find a solution that could do both. I just don't think there's much of a willingness up there, and that's why we want to keep that control here as long as we can. And Xavier's right. I mean, this wasn't a farmer-created issue. I mean, this is a California-created issue on not only the ag side, but the economic side. You have a farm now, you almost can't afford to fallow any of it and pay your bills. I mean, it's very tight, and we are the most expensive state in the union to live in, to operate a business in, and to farm in. And we've got to farm here for a long time, and we're fighting to protect it to some degree. Now, granted, we have to comply with SGMA, but we want to push it in such a way that it becomes something people can live with and it doesn't kill them. So.
Thank you for coming by. Anyway, we follow ground. Can you explain to the people here why farmers follow their ground?
Yeah, so there's a couple different reasons I'll say, but in regards to SGMA is that ground being fallowed is going to be, it's all going to have an allocation, right? I mentioned that pumping allocation earlier when I was starving for thirst here. But every acre is going to be given a number, basically. and of what you can extract per acre foot for that acre. So I use the function of 10 acres. We're shooting for starting about 2.4 acre feet, and we'll end in 2040 at about 1.4 acre feet. Okay, now that's if everything goes to plan here in Mid-Kings River. Still a lot of things that have to happen. But that, if we end up there, that's what you'll have. So if Larry has 100 acres, he's got 1.4 acre feet times 100 acres that he can use. Now what he might do is choose to fallow some of that. Cut 50 acres off of that and just leave it fallow. That takes that allocation of water, and he can use that on that other 50 acres to grow a big crop on that, right? So you get flexibility that way. And unfortunately, that's going to be the norm for people around here, I think, when we get into this thing. There's just not an adequate level of surface water. It's not consistent enough for the crops we need to grow to be profitable. And so you're going to see farms get smaller. You'll see more consolidation. You'll see the smaller guys go out and the bigger guys gobble them up. It's economics, right? But I personally believe that everybody started off as a small farmer, right? And there's something genuine about that. There's something that giving someone the ability to make some side income. They work in town, but they have a small farm around their place or something like that. That should be protected at all costs. It might be different. Farming is going to be different going forward. But we got to keep it that way and fight as long as we can to have that. But that's exactly why you would fallow stuff in the Sigma scenario and make that water go farther on the crops you have. So,
Stephen, you?
Oh, yeah. Do you think California is trying to get rid of dairy process in the future? And they're just trying to, like, get rid of the farming in general in the future?
you know, I think...
Because it kind of feels like they are with the high-speed rail trying to come in. They're trying to push everybody to come in our area because it's cheaper house living, and they're trying to get rid of the whole dairy business in general.
Yeah, it's hard for me to put my mind into what they're thinking. Partly because I don't know them, but the other part of me is I think they think so radical, I don't know how I would even understand what they're thinking. But there's a saying, it's not a problem until it's a problem for you, right? And the unfortunate thing is that we want to have produce year-round. We have produce year-round. We've made it very easy. Food is a commodity that is on every street corner. It's easy to get. It's cheap. I think we spend about 2% of our disposable income on food, where back in the day it was in the 20s, 30s, 40s, something like that. It was a very valuable thing that you made sure you protected and you savored it that way, right? And whenever things get cheaper, they lose their intrinsic value. So if I'm putting my head in someone in Sacramento, I think they're doing what their heart is. My heart is in agriculture. My heart is in my community. Their heart is in making sure that trout go in the rivers and that people can fish and that Hetch Hetchy looks great and Yosemite is awesome. It's just where their head is at. So do I think some of them would like to get rid of it? Oh yeah, but I also think that their focus is elsewhere and they're looking, through a hole this big and they don't see the world around them. But there was a story one time of a group of farmers that was in Washington, D.C., and they were all dressed up for something, and they were walking down the street, and they saw someone on the corner, and the guy asked them, what are you guys doing here? Oh, we're farmers. And he was a staffer. And he said, I don't have any use for farmers. I just go to the grocery store to get my food. That's the disconnect, though, is you're trying to teach people that have no desire to be educated, and they don't see, they don't feel, they don't understand the pressures we live with here and what you provide to the community just here in Kings County, but also to Sacramento. And when I say it's not a problem for them until it's a problem for them, I mean, this place goes away. I don't know, but you've got a group of people that took some $billion surplus, turned it into a massive deficit, and they operate like it's situation normal. And so it's almost an unfixable system. And so when I hear myself say that, I'm like, why am I even trying, right? But on the other hand, you've got to try and fight for the things that are close to your heart, right? And this is to me. And so, yeah, it's unfortunate, but that's the end result. I just don't know where their head's at when they're thinking that.
Garrett, do you think that there's any way that we can take and make it to where ultimately we will end up getting any of that water back? One example, like a two-part question. Mm-hmm. Do you think that if Apex were to stop being utilized, do you think we would have more water coming this way instead of being routed around Kings County and routed down to LA?
So on the first question, I think they get any water back. that's an interesting question. Most things don't happen until the system breaks, and that's the scary part, is that I think the system would have to break for things to really change. In that regard of getting water back. I mean, water is a thing that the law, the grip on it, the money involved in water in California is so vast and so deep that it would be tough to change that around overnight, I think. And what I mean by the system breaking, food shortages on shelves. You look back at World War II, I mean, they didn't really think much of farmers beforehand until they were all starving. And now they have a different view on farming back there. Granted, slightly more liberal, slightly less pesticides than I enjoy, but at the end of the day, it changed their minds, right? I really wish that doesn't happen here, but that's the reality. Things don't change until things get ugly. But we're trying to find a way to work within the system and change it the right way until we can't. Now, when it comes to Apex, I really can't talk on that. I know everybody on the board of Kings County Water District now. I know that they are the best people that we can have for the job. I enjoy every single one of them, and they all have very similar views like me. They're asking questions about Apex. What does it mean? What are you doing with it? I know that water does keep water from going in the old channel, which is a very crappy conveyance system because it's so sandy, which makes it a great recharge basin. But the metrics and the intricacies of that system of being Apex, I don't fully understand it, but I'm hoping that them on the board will get that under control and at least get some clarity around that project. Yeah.
I hope that we can take and get it to where when there are more flood release, that it's coming our way instead of being diverted around us.
Correct. I mean, I mentioned that we should take so much water that we might need boats. I mean, that's actually a real statement in my opinion. I think that we've got the capacity to use a lot of water, to maintain a lot of water and keep it here. But you have to have policies and people in place that will be willing to step up and do that when it comes. I just know back in 23, we had, for example, a lot of basins that were dug out for high-speed rail, another California boondoggle, right? But they were never connected to the system. And so they hustled really quick to do that, but they were great ponding basins because they're basically sand pits. But the forward thinking in government is an endangered species. They think about the here and now, they think about today, they don't think about what's going to happen in a year, 2, 3 years from now. And so like this grower committee, we're thinking about that. I want a recharge policy that makes it so every grower in this room can get credit for the water they take. They can utilize it the way they see fit. They can generate credits where they can, and where they can't, they'll understand everything, right? Clarity is a big thing in government that I think isn't very prevalent, right? There's lots of smoke, lots of mirrors, lots of ambiguity. I mean, hell, just pulling my papers to be a supervisor was like an act of Congress. I didn't understand it, luckily, but again, I think if I did this in another county, I'd be very frustrated. They were able to help me out, but the hoops you have to jump through. We need to make it easy for people so when a 23 happens again, we're ready for it, if it does happen again, so.
I just know that we need to take and get behind the farmers and everything else and do everything that we can to take and try to help you guys.
Yeah, so I agree. I mean, when I look at people that live in cities and people that live and work in agriculture, live in the country or whatever it may be, and then you look at groundwater and surface water, you know, Sigma deals just with groundwater, and they say, we don't do anything with surface water. And people that deliver surface water say, we don't do anything with groundwater. People in city, I don't know what farmers do. Farmers like, I could not live in town. We are linked together in this, whether we like it or not. This is an arranged marriage, and we're gonna have to learn how to work together and move forward. And what's good for farmers is good for people in city. What's good for people in the city is good for farmers too. And I think if we set aside the 20% we don't disagree on and focus on the 80, that we'll get a lot of good stuff done and have a unified front. A lot of things are working that way. Like I say, I've talked to people at the city, and they seem open to having conversations and being educated, and it goes both ways. Educate me about you guys too, right? Because I don't really know a whole lot about how the system operates. So I think cooperation is going to make the boat float. Yeah.
All right, I'll take a lull in the action. I said, Garrett, you know, you filled us in pretty thoroughly on what water is happening, but you are stepping into a new venture.
Yeah, so again, like I said, I think it was good to come see you guys about that because I'd heard from others that want to get an update, and I just do a 2-for-1. So, anyway, yes, I have chosen to pull papers and run for county supervisor in District 1 of Kings County, replacing Joe Neves.
Do you feel bad about replacing Santa Claus?
So,
Okay,
if
sorry,
it was unwillingly, then yes. But Joe and I and other people have talked to Joe all the way back as far as October of last year, just to understand where his head was at. Are you going to run again? And if you are, great, we want to get behind you. If you're not, then we want to have time to find somebody to fill your spot that would be aligned with your values and the values that we cherish in the county. And at that time, he's like, I don't know yet. Okay, cool. So towards the end of the year, we talked to him again, and he's like, I'm kind of done. And so we, at that point, are like, okay, and this is we at Farm Bureau. You know, we're very intimately involved in not only water, but just how things go in the county. Who could fill this spot? And when you look at people who've ran in the past, people who live in the district, and then combined with all this stuff going on with water and how the Board of Supervisors is intimately ingrained in that now, it became ever apparent that I would like to do it. You know, I think it's, you look at someone like Joe Neves, who was there for 32 years. I mean, love him or hate him, I don't think you could say that he didn't do the best he could for the county, right? And you need someone who would continue that on, especially with something like SGMA and the fact that the Board of Supervisors are heavily involved now. And looking at that, I was just called to do it. You got three different people, I think, that run for government positions. You got the people who want it, you got the people who need it, and the people who are compelled to do it. I don't think you want the person that wants it. Why they want it, I don't know. I mean, it could be for power, status, whatever it may be. I think that's how you end up with Nancy Pelosi, that has a lot of money and that kind of stuff and is government for 40 years. The people who need a job, I don't think you really want them either, because they're looking for it, and I don't know why, need a paycheck, whatever it may be. I think you want people that are compelled to do it. Those end up being the best people for local government. They're setting aside time with their family, setting aside time with other things they're involved in to do this, right? Not because they want to, not because they need a job, but because they feel compelled to do so, and that's me. You know, I got 3 kids and my wife here, so I've got a vested interest in this. You know, I farm here, I have a business here, I went to Lemoore High School, I've got friends, I got family. It became so apparent to me that I needed to at least try. I may not win, and that's okay, but I'm going to give it my best shot to do so that I can fill that seat and continue on what Joe did and keep the county moving forward. So, yep.
Quick question, I mean, just to fill us in, a lot of people here don't know, what is your district? What areas does it encompass?
Yep. So District 1. So that basically goes to 16th Avenue, runs all the way up to the railroad tracks, goes over into Lemoore, and encompasses a big part of the central part of Lemoore, continues west on the railroad tracks to the air base, north of the air base, goes down the Avenel cutoff, and the south part of that is, the south part is escaping me, but that's basically District 1. Yes, it goes down to Stratford, but I don't know what road it stops at. Anyway, I forget what road, but yes, it goes just south of Stratford and then continues back over to where 16th Avenue would be, and that is District 1. So I encompass all that area there, all of Lemoore and Stratford and Naval Air Station Lemoore.
Well, we know you're very well versed on water issues in Kings County, but tell us a little bit about your platform, what ideas you have for Kings County, and some of your background and what qualifies you for the position.
Okay, so I'll start with background and then I'll go with platform, I guess. So background, born here, raised here, right? I told you I grew up here in Lemoore, just south of Lemoore. A buddy of mine will say it was closer to Stratford than Lemoore, but well, I'm in between. And anyway, went to Lemoore High School, graduated from there, from a farming family too. And in high school, I didn't want to go to college. I was so sick of school. I was like, I just want to go to work. And my dad, he didn't have the benefit of going to college. So both of his parents passed away when he was 15 and 17, and so he had no ability to go. He had to stay. And he basically told me, he's like, hey, you don't have to go. But if you don't go, you got to find a new job and a new place to live, because I'm not supporting you if you can go and you don't. So I went to college. And went to college, again, didn't want anything to do with agriculture. Growing up, I always had a job in the summer, but I got the worst jobs. I didn't have the fancy pickup. I didn't have this. I had an International 784 with a tank on the back and a little steel cover on it, baking in the sun. I mean, he was breaking me emotionally from a very young age. But anyway, so I wanted to go into medicine. That was my thought. But then when I was in college and I got my first job working with the public, I thought, man, I don't want to be inside. These people are just crazy. Ag's okay. Let's do that. Right? So I changed my major and went to agriculture. And come to find out, once I got into stuff I really enjoyed, college was pretty fun. I did enjoy that. Enjoyed it a little too much because I had to take 25 units my last semester so I could graduate in 4 years. But anyway, everyone's got to get it out of their system, I guess, and have a good time. So I did that. And then after I graduated from Fresno State, I said, all right, I'm ready to go to work. And he said, well, go find a job with somewhere else. I'm like, what? It's like, you got to go work for somebody else. You got to have a boss that isn't your dad. Okay, so I did that. Along the way, I got my master's degree at Iowa State. I wanted to get out and just adventure a little bit, and so I did that for a year. But ever since then, I've had a job outside of working on the ranch there. Started with an independent agronomist who I really respect. Worked for him for about 7 years. I then took a job with a company called Syngenta Crop Protection. Basically ran R&D and a lot of stuff for them for a better part of a decade or more. And about 4 years ago, I decided I was sick of corporate life. It was just kind of grinding me. I couldn't really answer my why, right? Like, why am I doing this? Why am I going to the airport at 3:30 in the morning to catch a flight to a meeting where half of it was about the meeting before, and you're talking, I didn't really feel fulfilled anymore. And my dad was kind of wanting to take a step back, so I came back to the ranch and started running that. And about 6 months later, Sigma blew up. We kind of thought everything was handled locally. Come to find out, it was kind of like, weaving a basket in a hurricane, and it got blown up, and I got sucked into that. There was my why. Why did I leave corporate America? Why did I come back to farming when farming is epically, by all accounts, it's pretty poor right now in terms of just commodity prices and water and just everything, because I felt compelled to do that, right? That was my why. And so going through all of that, I think that my dad set me up in a pretty good way by kind of kicking me out of the nest and not letting me get comfortable. I had to work with a lot of people that I didn't really care for. I had to work with a lot of people I didn't understand. And I worked with a lot of people I really enjoyed too. I got with all three of them, and I had to find a way to make it work. And so in this whole Sigma stuff, I've had to do the same thing. Working with people in Sacramento, working with people locally who have different opinions of you or than you. And that's okay. That's what this whole experiment called America is. Everyone's got their own opinion. You're entitled to it, and you should be able to voice it, right? So my platform is, number one, you want to keep Kings County small. And what I say by small is how it functions and how it moves. I mentioned other counties surrounding us, and they are just big, big counties that are bureaucracy driven. You're dealing with more like Sacramento than you are your local government. And Kings County is not that way. Again, it functions like California. You have to follow the rules, but the people that work there are genuinely there because they want to make things work. It's very small. It's very nimble. Call up a supervisor, talk to them, go see people in the office. I was in there the other day, just walk right in and get what you need to do done. You want to keep it that way. You also want to let it grow, but make it responsible so it doesn't become a big bloated mess. That's a big thing. The other one is just protect industry. Agriculture is a big one. I said it before. Whether you're involved in ag directly, everyone's involved indirectly. It's kind of this buoyancy that keeps everything afloat. You don't see it, although you see it every day if you drive out of town. Everyone relies on it to some degree, but you'll know the cracks that show up if it's gone, right? And we want to make sure we can keep it here as long as humanly possible. The other part of it is integrating everyone together with this water thing, right? I think I said it before, groundwater, surface water, cities, rural, we got to come together if we've got any chance of making this thing work. And the last part is just keeping on what Joe did, right? That's a big part of it. I mean, he was always there at functions. He was always one to pick up a phone. I remember calling him and saying, "We need a stop sign out here. What do I got to do to get a stop sign?" Right? He found the information for me. This is what we got to do. He explained it to me. He was a resource to the community, right? You want someone there who is invested enough to pick up a phone at 4 o'clock on a Friday afternoon and try and find your problem, find a solution to your problem. And if they don't know, which I don't know everything, they're going to take the time to find it for you. And that's how I've operated in business, and that's how I want to operate here. So I kind of went over the hill and through the woods there, but that's more or less what I'm thinking about. So.
Well, awesome. I know when I asked for your phone number, you said it was 911. Is that still right? I'm still waiting. Every time the police come to my door, they said, "Hey, boy, I was trying to get a hold of
Front row service for
Okay,
you.
all
Yeah.
Yes, thanks for all the good information. At this point, even though I can't vote for you,
Yep.
but most of us can't here, but we can support you. At this point, I can support you. But my question is, about several years ago, I'm going to talk about the Office of the Register of Voters. And you
Okay.
probably not even thought about it. But I want to mention it to you. You know, it was at one point an elected position held by the assessor, Kathy Lee, I think. And then because she did not want to do that part, she went to the assessors and did whatever she does there. So they made the ROV, the Elections Department, a appointed position. Took away the choice of the people to vote for that particular position that we always voted for in this county. I'm asking you to, would you support, after you get in, thinking that you might at least listen to us about make it an elected position rather than appointed?
Yeah, I take no harm in listening to anybody, right? I don't. If you ask me today would I support it or not, I think it would be very poor of me to make a decision like that, right? Because I don't know why they made it, what the reasons were behind that. But uncovering what happened, why it happened, if there's things that can be done better. What's that? Joe knows. Yep, exactly. Joe knows. And see, that's why he was there 32 years. Yeah. Have him come back. There, you can keep it going. But, you know, that's a great example. Something I don't quite understand, but I'm okay talking to you about it. And there might be a reason why it happened, and I can hopefully explain that to you. Hey, this is what they're telling me. But maybe there's a way to get that back that way, and I don't know exactly why. Exactly. No, I'm open to listen to anything, for sure. Yeah.
I got a question right here.
Quick question about if you are elected and the GSAs, have you given any thought to, you would now be in Joe's seat, which covers South Fork Kings.
Correct.
Would there be a conflict in your involvement with Mid-Kings to then switch over to South Fork during this whole process?
So there would be a conflict because Joe experienced that conflict too. He sat on the Mid-Kings River GSA board and the South Fork board at the same time. And so he has stepped off of the Mid-Kings River GSA board, and I would do the same, right? I farm right on the line. I've got sides in both, ground in both sides of it. So it's really, I have a vested interest in both of them. So I would not be involved with Mid-Kings except from being on the outside of South Fork there, for sure. I think that South Fork and Mid-Kings have a lot in common. I do. I think that we are better working together on solutions than we are apart. That's a given. And so anything that could be done to keep that going would be great. I think that I would do my best to, from a county level, influence both of them in a positive level, working together, finding a solution that the state board might come together on. But beyond that, that's where I would have to stand on that, yeah. Yep.
And then just to follow up, you had mentioned filling Joe's shoes, so just want to give expectations for the city of Lemoore. Joe shows up to a lot.
Correct.
A lot.
Yep.
And it does make a difference to those in our community that are represented by him. So I hope to if you're elected, hope to see you at a lot of different
Yeah.
things. You may not be able to go to all the things that he did, because obviously you do something else as well. But yeah, look forward to, if you're elected, to seeing you all over, everywhere.
Yep, yep. Yeah, I'll be honest, that's, yeah, Joe, I mean, he was Santa Claus. He calls a lot of the football games, basketball games. He is involved in a lot of different things within Lemoore, and rightly so. It's part of his district, right? And the thing is, someone who's been there for as long as Joe has and dedicated as much time as he has, I'm not going to fill him right away, for sure. They're going to be different shoes, for example, right? But I want to do it in such a way that honors what he did and do the best I can to at least get close to that. So, yeah, and that means going to different things in Lemoore. I'm all for it, yeah.
Garrett, do you know if anybody else has pulled papers in your area or are planning on it?
Yeah, so as of this evening, one other person has pulled papers that I know of. There's rumors that others will. I mean, this is going to be a multi-person race, I'm sure of it. Again, you have a seat that's been held that long. There's probably some pent-up political aspirations out there somewhere, and that's okay. I mean, I think to the point of listening to everybody and hearing it, whether you like it or not, having more people to choose from isn't a bad thing. Everyone's got options at that point, right? That is our republic in a nutshell. You got options. You can vote. Selfishly, I wish it didn't happen. I could just walk in there and do what I need to do. But the big picture, it's good that people are going to have different people to pick from, right? And running this race, I told a lot of people that I'm going to run it my way, right? And that's going to be me, my platform. I'll answer questions. If they ask me questions, I will answer them. But I want to run a clean race, and I'm gonna take the support of people that I align with. I'm going to take the endorsements of people that I align with, and I will take funding from people that I align with, because that's unfortunately the way this thing works, is that I will need funding to run a campaign. I've done pretty good so far, but we're still not even close to what we'll need. So in terms of support from people like you, yourself, sir, and others who are hearing this, if you have heard what I said, want to talk to me a bit further about that, I'd love to have that engagement and possibly get your support. So, yeah.
And Garrett, on that note, do you have someplace where, like, we have our Facebook Live going on, Instagram and Facebook right now? Yep. Do you have a location where they can reach you, how they can contact you?
Yeah, so as of today, I have a young Lemoore local lady who's running my social media for me. I'm currently have my bank account set up in Hanford there, so we'll be able to take donations if those come in. My cell phone, give it to anybody who wants it. I have no problem with that too. But I will have a very active social media page here pretty quick. You could also track me down at Farm Bureau. They have my information as well. I think there's a website that's coming too. I don't know that that's live yet, but that will be there. And so my hope is to get out there in front of everybody, make my name known, so that way if you want to talk to me, you can, and then we'll just see what happens. So, yep.
Very good. Any other questions?
I just wanted to say he's starting off really nice with that beard as a replacement for Santa Claus.
Yeah, the gray hair's coming in nicely. Yeah.
Xavier, I think he got that on special, man. I don't know.
That's funny.
I don't know. Yeah, it's a tough place when you step in. Yes, I do have one more question.
Yeah, no, I'll take as many as you got. Yeah.
But it is a tough spot. Like you say, I love Joe Neves. He's been there a long time. A true community individually.
Yeah.
And I feel you'll do just as good or better.
Well, and that's why I approached it like, Joe, if you're not going to run, or if you are going to run again, I want to do everything I can to keep you in there, right? I think that you've done a lot. You are great, but if you aren't, then help us find somebody that could possibly live up to what you've done for that 32 years, And hopefully I can kind of step into that somewhat. So,
Garrett, the one thing that you missed whenever you were doing your telling us about you
yeah.
is you forgot to introduce your beautiful wife and tell us how you met her.
Well,
and your kids and everything.
So you know what?
Because she has, whenever you run and whenever you do this, she's stuck in this with you.
Well, we're saving the best for last then. How about that? Yeah. So I do have my wife and my son here. So I'll tell you a funny story about my wife. So she's local too. She actually came from Hanford, though. Don't hold that against her. But we had common people that we knew, and we met each other in high school, and the feelings were mutual, and they weren't great at the first time. I wasn't her flavor, she wasn't mine, and we're kind of like, no, we're good. And so it was just kind of that way for a while, and then I went away to college. I came back. I was living with my roommate in Hanford. Again, this whole my dad kicking me out type of thing was continued on after that too. And so, a buddy of mine, Kyle, I was living with him, and he was friends with Leah. And she started coming around a little bit. I'm like, oh, hey, how are you? And we ended up needing a date to a wedding. I needed a date. She needed a date. We enjoyed each other's company, and she's been my wife for 15 years now. So, yep, exactly. Very, very happy with that. Sometimes I question her judgment, especially when I run for public office. But we have 3 kids. So Reed, my 12-year-old, is here. We're trying to get him out here and understand that hey, you're growing up, dude. You can go to these things now. And then I have 2 daughters. My daughter Lane, who's 8, and Paige, who is 6. And so they aren't here with us tonight. But you look at a family like that, right? Like, I enjoy everything about them. I love them, and I want to make sure that that they have a community to grow up in. One thing I'll say is that when I joined Farm Bureau years ago, it was a friend of mine, Michael Mia, and Dusty Ferentz, that said to me, like, why do you want to be on Farm Bureau? I said, I really don't know what I want to do on Farm Bureau, but I know I want to get involved. And I said, I have the opportunity to farm. I want to do everything I can to allow my kids that same opportunity. And when I look at the supervisor, it's, I don't know. I know there's problems. I understand it from my perspective. I know there's a lot more too. But I want to do everything I can to give them the opportunity I had growing up. So, and that's exactly why I'm doing it. So, yep.
So it's election season coming up. I'm sure you'll get a call from us to do either a debate or a dueling town hall. Yeah. Are you open for that?
Anytime, anywhere, yeah. No
All
problem.
right, I like that.
Yeah, anytime. I enjoy it. I mean, I really encourage people to do that if they're running for office. I think it's important, and I would love to have the invite. Yeah.
Well, any more? Well, Garrett, do you want to give me a 2-minute close? Do you want to capitalize everything you've said, or anything you want to do, or do you want me to do it for you?
No, I won't put you through that. No, I just want to say thank you. I reached out to Daniel after I was going to do this. I said, hey, can I come see you guys? You said, yep, no problem. I've been here before. You guys are always very welcoming to me. I enjoy what you guys do. I think that especially on the 250-year anniversary of this great nation, 1776 group. I mean, I think what you guys are doing, the ethos of that is very, very good. Again, taking a Monday night to come hang out here and talk to or listen to me speak, not very high on most people's list, but I really appreciate what you guys do and what you've done for me. As far as voting for me, I think you've kind of heard where I stand, what I stand for. If there's any gaps, feel free, reach out to me. I have no problem talking to anybody about that. And like I say, I will, just looking forward to it. I really, really am. So if you guys think of anybody I should talk to, let me know. Places I should be, like places in Lemoore or something like that, let me know. Because I love to talk to them and see if I can gather their support as well. So.
Very good.
Well, very good. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you for our Facebook Live, our Instagram. I hope you got the information. Please reach out to Garrett. Reach out to 1776 Sons of Liberty if you need to. If you felt something wasn't asked that you want to ask, reach out. This is how we become an active body in our community. And so I encourage all of you, if you like what you heard, if you have other questions, reach out to make sure you get the answers. We need to vote responsibly. We need to elect people that represent us. If you all please stand, we'll close in prayer. I want to say, as we close, the 1776 Sons of Liberty, we are holding our Jamboree on June 27th. It is one of our main fundraisers. We're going to hold it at the Fraternal Hall this time, first time. So it's going to be a little bit bigger than we normally do. But I want to ask all of you to be involved. It funds a lot of what we do throughout the year. It is June 27th. You can purchase a table, individual tickets. They do go fast. Even though it'll be a little bit bigger this year, we should have plenty of room. We'd love to have all of you there. Come out, show your support, and we'll get the organization going even better. Let's bow our heads. Father, we thank you again. We ask you to touch our hearts, our minds, and our spirits, Father, to direct us in your will. Father, we thank you as Garrett shared a little bit about who he was, that each one of us, Father, can discern and know, is this the man we need to support, to get behind, to move your agenda further? We ask you that you give us that peace, that direction, and help our community, Father, be more like you. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. God bless you. We're here every Monday night, 7 p.m., except for holidays.